The day humanity learned it wasn't alone started like any other. Fleet Admiral Frank Carter stood on the bridge of the Orbital Defense Station Aegis, reviewing routine reports when alarms suddenly blared to life. "Sir, unknown object approaching Earth at incredible speed," reported Lieutenant Alan Gray, his fingers flying across the sensor console. It's slowing down. Nothing in our database matches its profile." Carter's jaw tightened. For years, humanity had prepared for this possibility. "Sound General Quarters. Alert UN Space Council immediately." Across Earth, military installations went on high alert. Defense satellites quietly oriented toward the approaching vessel. In Washington, Beijing, Moscow, and New Delhi, emergency councils convened within minutes. The alien ship settled into orbit with impossible precision. It dwarfed humanity's largest vessels, gleaming with a metallic sheen that shifted colors under Earth's sun. No communication came for 3 hours. When the transmission finally arrived, it bypassed all security protocols, appearing simultaneously on communication screens worldwide. "People of Earth, we welcome you to the embrace of the Galactic Empire. I am High Commander Zextal. Your world has been granted the privilege of Imperial membership." In the UN Emergency Council chamber, representatives from Earth's nations watched in stunned silence. Lisa Bennett, the American representative, was first to find her voice. "This is UN Space Council contacting alien vessel. We acknowledge your greeting but not your authority. Earth is a sovereign world." A pause followed. When Zextal's image returned, surprise was evident on his purple-tinged features. "Perhaps I was unclear. The Empire does not request permission. We simply inform. Preparations for your world's integration have already begun." President Maria Diaz stood from her seat at the council. "We have no interest in being integrated. Earth governs itself." The alien commander's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Fascinating. Most species understand the benefits immediately. Imperial protection, advanced technology, medical breakthroughs. The alternative is less pleasant." "Are you threatening us?" Bennett asked. "Merely stating facts. Unaligned worlds face many dangers. Pirates, resource hunters, worse things. The Empire provides safety." Carter, watching from Aegis Station, noticed something odd. "Scan their weapons systems," he ordered quietly. "Sir, they're powering up targeting arrays," whispered his tactical officer, Simon Powell. Back in the council chamber, Bennett and Diaz exchanged glances. "We appreciate your offer," Diaz said carefully, "but Earth must decline." Zextal's expression hardened. "You misunderstand. This is not negotiable. You will receive our delegation tomorrow to begin transition. Your military forces will stand down." Bennett stepped forward. "No," she said simply. "We will not." The alien commander stared in apparent disbelief. "Surely you understand your position. Our vessel alone could level your major cities. The Empire spans thousands of worlds." "Yet here we are," Bennett replied, "informing you that Earth does not recognize your authority. This system is sovereign territory. Your presence is unwelcome." Zextal's voice lowered dangerously. "No species has refused Imperial integration in over 3 centuries. Consider us pioneers," Diaz said. The transmission cut abruptly. On Aegis Station, Carter watched as the alien vessel's energy readings spiked. "They're charging weapons," Powell reported. Carter nodded grimly. "Deploy countermeasures." Quietly. Around Earth, hidden defense platforms activated. Submarines launched stealth satellites. Fighter squadrons took off from bases worldwide. The alien ship remained motionless for several minutes, then, unexpectedly, powered down its weapons. "They're leaving orbit," Gray announced, sounding surprised. The massive vessel turned gracefully and accelerated away from Earth. "They'll be back," Carter said, watching the retreating ship on the view screen. "And next time, they won't come alone." In the council chamber, Bennett looked at the blank screen where Zextal's face had been. "We just made history," she said quietly. I'm just not sure if it's the good kind. Diaz nodded. Either way, we need to prepare. If they come back, we must be ready. Across Earth, the news spread quickly. Humanity had met aliens and told them no. The Imperial science vessel Quantum Observer hung at the edge of the Sol system, carefully staying beyond Earth's detection range. Inside its gleaming hull, 12 of the Empire's finest minds analyzed everything they could learn about humanity. Fascinating, said Chief Scientist Velnox, his six-fingered hand gesturing at the holographic display of Earth's technology. Their propulsion systems are primitive, yet they've achieved innovations our engineers never considered. Senior military analyst Kraz Dol snorted. Primitive is right. Their strongest weapons wouldn't scratch our cruiser's shields. Don't be so dismissive, countered cultural specialist Mirazan. She adjusted her environmental suit as she studied human broadcast signals. These humans are dangerous. Look at their history. They spend centuries fighting each other. Most species unite before reaching space. Humans still maintain separate nations. The room fell silent as Emperor Xandor's hologram appeared in their midst. The 8-foot ruler of over 3,000 star systems regarded them with his characteristic cold stare. Your assessment, he demanded. Velnox stepped forward. Technologically immature but innovative, Your Eminence. They've developed unique solutions to problems we solved differently. Their cultural cohesion is weak, added Mirazan, but their independence is troubling. They resist authority instinctively. Krasdul spoke last. Militarily insignificant now, but concerning potential. I recommend immediate subjugation before they advance further. The Emperor considered this. I agree. Earth must be dealt with quickly. Their defiance cannot be tolerated. It might inspire others. As the Imperial scientists plotted Earth's downfall, Defense Secretary William Grant and Dr. Olivia Martinez worked through the night in a secure underground facility beneath Wyoming. The scans from their ship are incredible, Martine said, her eyes red from exhaustion. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. But, she paused, manipulating the 3D model of the alien vessel. But what? Grant prompted. Their shield systems rely on phase-synchronized energy fields, she explained. Advanced, yes, but with a critical vulnerability. If we could generate precisely targeted electromagnetic pulses at these frequencies, she highlighted several points on the model. Grant studied her calculations. You're saying we could punch through their defenses. Theoretically, we'd need to build thousands of small EMP satellites and coordinate them perfectly. Grant's phone buzzed. It was a text from Admiral Jones. THUYRE back, with Afrayendas. No more theory, Grant said grimly. How quickly can your team build a prototype? Martinez straightened her lab coat. Give me 48 hours. Halfway across the world, President Russell addressed an emergency UN session. The Imperial fleet has entered our system. Their advanced ship has stationed itself near Mars. All attempts at communication have been ignored. Russell paused as an aide rushed to the podium with a tablet. His face paled as he read the screen. Mars Colony Alpha has just been destroyed. 1,500 lives gone. Gasps and cries filled the chamber. This was a demonstration, Russell continued, his voice hardening. The Empire believes we will now surrender out of fear. He slammed his fist on the podium. They are wrong. Humanity bows to no one. The chamber erupted in applause. In orbit around Mars, High Commander Zex Tull watched the remains of the human colony drift apart. Behind his flagship, 30 Imperial warships waited in perfect formation. Send the message again, he ordered. They have 24 hours to surrender. His communications officer worked the console, then looked up in surprise. Commander, we're receiving a response. Put it through. The view screen displayed an official document bearing the seal of United Earth. By unanimous vote of all Earth nations, Zex Tull read aloud. The Sol system is henceforth forbidden to all Imperial vessels. Any violation of this decree will be met with maximum force. Zextul laughed. They just watched us destroy their colony with a single shot, and they think to ban us. His second-in-command looked uncertain. It seems irrational. It's pathetic, Zextul replied. Prepare invasion coordinates. We attack tomorrow. He didn't notice the small, stealthy Earth vessel that had been observing the Imperial fleet, nor did he detect when it slipped away toward Earth, carrying vital targeting data. The destruction of Mars Colony Alpha sent shockwaves across Earth. Memorial services filled every town square. Pictures of the dead colonists appeared on digital billboards. Children left flowers at space agency offices. But behind closed doors, Earth's military leaders were not mourning. They were planning. Admiral Patricia Jones stood before a wall-sized tactical display in the Pentagon's deepest level. Around her, generals and admirals from 20 nations watched as she outlined humanity's response. The Empire believes we are primitive and helpless, Jones said, her gray eyes hard as stone. That gives us one advantage. Surprise. She pointed to Mars. They struck here to frighten us. But they've shown us something valuable, the exact energy signature of their weapons. General Rick Owens frowned. How does that help us? We can't match their firepower. No, Jones agreed. But Dr. Martinez has identified a weakness in their shield systems. We don't need to match their power if we can bypass their defenses entirely. On screen, a simulation showed thousands of small satellites surrounding Imperial ships, firing precisely targeted electromagnetic pulses. Operation Hornet's Nest, Jones explained. We've already launched 5,000 stealth satellites. Their individual power is minimal, too small to trigger Imperial sensors. But synchronized together, the simulation showed Imperial ships going dark, their systems failing. Will it work? Asked General Miyazaki of Japan. Jones didn't hesitate. It has to. Across the solar system, Imperial ships moved toward Earth. High Commander Zextul watched from his flagship bridge as the blue planet grew larger on the view screen. Still no sign of surrender, he asked, almost bored. None, Commander, replied his communications officer. They've stopped responding entirely. Zextul smiled, resigned to their fate, perhaps. His tactical officer looked troubled. Commander, our long-range scans show unusual activity in Earth orbit. They're primitive defense satellites, no doubt, Zextul said dismissively. Nothing that concerns us. As the Imperial fleet approached Earth, millions watched the skies. In Washington, President Russell addressed a joint session of Congress, his words broadcast worldwide. Today, humanity faces its greatest test, Russell said. An alien empire has come to subjugate us, believing we will surrender rather than fight. They have murdered our people to terrorize us into compliance. He paused, gripping the edges of the podium. We have sent the Empire our answer. The Sol system is forbidden to their kind. They laughed at our declaration. They do not understand that humans do not make empty threats. The chamber erupted in applause. In orbit, Commander Samuel Wright watched from Earth Defense Station Alpha as Imperial ships entered attack formation. All stations report ready, sir, said Lieutenant Valerie Simmons. Wright nodded. Commence Operation Hornet's Nest. Across Earth orbit, thousands of seemingly inactive satellites suddenly powered up. Each targeted a specific frequency of the Imperial shields. On the Imperial flagship, alarms suddenly blared. Commander, energy fluctuations in our shields, shouted the tactical officer. Zextul rose from his command chair. What? How? The bridge lights flickered and died. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing the bridge in dim red light. We've lost main power, reported his second-in-command. Weapons offline. Engines offline. Impossible, Zextul whispered. Throughout the fleet, ship after ship reported the same catastrophic failures. On Earth, Admiral Jones received the confirmation she'd been waiting for. Phase 1 complete, she announced to the war room. Commence Phase 2. Hidden platforms in Earth orbit suddenly revealed themselves, launching thousands of missiles at the disabled Imperial ships. Unlike conventional weapons, these carried specially designed warheads that could penetrate the now vulnerable Imperial hulls. The Empire thought they were teaching us a lesson at Mars, Jones said, watching the destruction unfold. Now we're teaching them one. From his command ship, Zex Toll watched helplessly as his proud fleet burned. Nearly 70% of his vessels were damaged or destroyed before emergency systems could restore enough power to retreat. Full withdrawal, he ordered, his voice shaking with rage and disbelief. Back to Imperial space. As the surviving ships limped away, Earth celebrated its first victory against the stars. The Imperial flagship Destiny's Fist limped back to Empire space, trailing debris and venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. High Commander Zex Toll stood before Emperor Xandor's hologram, his head bowed in shame. Explain how primitives destroyed 70% of your battle fleet, the Emperor demanded, his voice dangerously quiet. They had hidden weapons, Your Eminence. Technology they should not possess. They knew our shield frequencies. The Emperor's 6 eyes narrowed. You underestimated them. It will not happen again, Zex Toll promised. I request the 3rd Imperial Armada to crush these humans completely. Granted, the Emperor said after a moment. But you will not lead it. Admiral Kronvex will command. On Earth, the celebration of victory was short-lived. In the Pentagon War Room, Admiral Jones addressed the assembled military leaders. We bloodied their nose, but now they'll come back with a sledgehammer, she said bluntly. The Empire controls thousands of worlds. They can send 100 ships for everyone we destroyed. Defense Secretary Grant nodded grimly. Conventional defense is impossible against those numbers. But Dr. Martinez has developed something unconventional. Martinez stepped forward, activating a holographic display of the solar system. Project Gatekeeper, she explained. A network of gravity distortion generators positioned throughout the system. General Owens looked skeptical. What does it do? It makes faster-than-light travel impossible within our system, Martinez said. Any ship attempting it will be torn apart. Silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. Can you build it in time? Jones asked. Martinez smiled thinly. We've already started. 3 weeks later, at the edge of the Sol system, the 3rd Imperial Armada prepared for attack. 200 warships, the largest fleet deployed in a century, formed a massive armada under Admiral Kronvex's command. Scans show increased activity around the outer planets, reported his science officer. Possible defensive preparations. Kronvex dismissed the concern with a wave. No defense they build can stop this fleet. Prepare for FTL jump directly to Earth orbit. We will end this with one overwhelming strike. The order went out. 200 ships engaged their faster-than-light drives simultaneously, creating a spectacular light show visible across neighboring systems. But as they entered the distorted space around Sol, alarms blared throughout the fleet. Gravitational anomalies detected, shouted the science officer. FTL field collapsing. Abort jump, Kronvex ordered, but it was too late. The first 50 ships, including the flagship, emerged from FTL in completely wrong positions. Some materialized partially inside asteroids. Others appeared with their hull molecules scrambled beyond recognition. The rest managed emergency returns to normal space, their engines severely damaged. From the secondary command ship, Sub-Commander Drevlon watched in horror as the magnificent fleet became a chaotic mess of crippled vessels. What happened? He demanded. His science officer stared at the readings in disbelief. They've somehow altered the fabric of space-time throughout their system. FTL travel is impossible here. On Earth, in the main control center for Project Gatekeeper, engineer Nickel Davis monitored the incoming data with grim satisfaction. It worked, she reported to Martinez. 78 Imperial ships destroyed outright. The rest are stranded with damaged engines. And our conventional forces? Martinez asked. Admiral Jones is leading the attack now. Without FTL capability, the Imperial ships can't maneuver effectively. Across the solar system, Earth's united fleet engaged the crippled Imperial vessels. The battle was short and decisive. By day's end, not a single Imperial ship remained operational in Sol space. In the White House Situation Room, President Russell received the news of victory with solemn relief. "Send a message to every Imperial outpost our long-range communications can reach," he ordered. "Tell them, Earth remains forbidden to the Empire. Any future incursions will meet the same fate." As Earth's defenders celebrated their impossible victory, few noticed the single Imperial scout ship hiding behind Neptune, recording everything before slipping away to report back to a stunned Emperor. Emperor Xandor's rage was visible even through the holographic projection. The Imperial High Council chamber had never been so silent. Not one of the 12 counselors dared to speak as their ruler paced before them. "Two fleets," Xandor said, his voice barely controlled. "Two fleets destroyed by primitives who discovered space travel less than a century ago." Finally, Supreme General Vexnar found the courage to speak. "Your Eminence, we have underestimated these humans. Their technology is nothing." The Emperor roared. "It is their audacity that troubles me. They have forbidden us, from entering their system." The Emperor paused, his 6 eyes focusing on something distant. "They must be destroyed completely, not conquered. Destroyed." On the far side of the galaxy, a small Imperial scout ship landed on the jungle world of Nexus 7, home to the reptilian Saurians. The ship's captain, a young officer named Drenthas, requested an urgent meeting with Planetary Governor Rezkill. "The humans of Earth have defeated 2 Imperial fleets," Drenthas said, showing the governor footage of the battles. "They've created some kind of spatial barrier around their system." Governor Rezkill's scaled face remained expressionless. "Why come to me with this?" "Because the Saurians were once like the humans, independent, defiant. You've lived under Imperial rule for 3 centuries. The humans have sent me with a message for all subjugated worlds." Drenthas activated a recording. President Russell's face appeared, speaking with calm determination. "To all species under Imperial control, Earth stands free. We choose freedom over submission, independence over security. If your worlds desire liberty, know that you are not alone in the galaxy." The governor's eyes widened. "This message is treason." "Yes," Drenthas admitted. "I am committing treason. But I've seen what these humans can do. The Empire isn't invincible anymore." Back on Earth, Dr. Henry Wilson and engineer Kate Robinson worked on enhancing Project Gatekeeper in a massive underground facility beneath the Atlantic Ocean. "The spatial distortion field works," Wilson said, studying complex equations on his tablet. "But the Empire will find ways around it eventually." Robinson nodded, adjusting controls on the prototype generator. "That's why we're strengthening it. The new configuration doesn't just prevent FTL travel, it actively destroys any vessel attempting to breach the field." "Like an immune system attacking invaders," Wilson mused. "Exactly. And we're extending the field to cover the entire solar system, not just Earth's orbital path." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Chief Security Officer Donna Lewis rushed into the lab. "We've got 6 unknown ships approaching Neptune," she reported. "Not Imperial design." In the Pentagon War Room, Admiral Jones and Defense Secretary Grant monitored the approaching vessels with tension. "Weapons locked on targets," Jones reported. "Ready to fire on your command, Mr. Secretary." Grant hesitated. "Wait, they're broadcasting something." A message came through in broken English. "People of Earth, we come in peace. Empire enemies like you want freedom." Grant and Jones exchanged surprised looks. "Could be a trap," Jones cautioned. "Or it could be exactly what it sounds like," Grant replied. Permission to approach, but maintain defensive posture. The alien delegation landed at a remote airbase in southern Australia. Representatives from 6 different species emerged from their ships, each one previously unknown to humans. Their leader, a blue-skinned humanoid named Zinlor, bowed deeply before President Russell. "We have heard of Earth's defiance," Zinlor said. "Our worlds have suffered under imperial rule for generations. We seek alliance." Russell studied the aliens carefully. "How did you find us?" "Imperial officer Drenthes spread your message secretly," Zinlor explained. "Many worlds now whisper of Earth, the forbidden system, they call you." Russell extended his hand in the human gesture of friendship. "Then let's give them something more to whisper about." As Earth forged its first interstellar alliance, the Empire prepared its response. From across Imperial space, ships gathered for an overwhelming assault. This time, the Emperor himself would lead the attack. On Earth, humanity watched the stars and prepared for the greatest battle in their history. The Australian outback had never seen such a gathering. Representatives from 6 alien species sat across from Earth's leaders in a hastily constructed meeting facility. Armed guards stood at every entrance, though the mood was cautiously optimistic. President Russell studied the aliens with undisguised curiosity. Besides the blue-skinned Zinlor, there was a furry, 6-limbed being called Mrek, a crystalline entity that communicated through light patterns, 2 reptilian humanoids, and a floating jellyfish-like creature. "Let me understand," Russell said. "You've all lived under Imperial control." Zinlor nodded. "My people for 8 generations. The Vex," he gestured to the crystalline being, "for over 1,000 years. And you want to fight them now because you showed it was possible," said Mrek, his translator converting growls into English. "No one has successfully defied the Empire in living memory." Defense Secretary Grant leaned forward. "What can you offer in alliance? Earth stands alone so far, and we've held our own." The jellyfish creature pulsed with light. Its translator spoke in a melodic voice. "The Empire builds a fleet unlike any before. 500 warships. Planet killers. They will not try to invade Earth again. They will destroy it from a distance." Silence fell over the room. "Can your gravity field stop such weapons?" asked one of the reptilians. Dr. Martinez exchanged glances with Wilson. "Theoretically, no. The distortion field prevents FTL travel, but can't stop conventional weapons fired from outside the field." "Then Earth needs allies," Zinlor said simply. "We bring knowledge of Imperial tactics, communication codes, patrol routes. Some of us have ships we can contribute." Russell considered this. "And what do you want in return?" "Your technology," Zinlor replied. "The gravity field. Your shield-disrupting weapons. And when the Empire falls, freedom for our worlds." Russell extended his hand. "Then we have an alliance." Over the next month, Earth transformed. Alien technology merged with human innovation. The visitors marveled at humanity's adaptability and speed. "Your people learn faster than any species I've encountered," Mrek told Martinez as they worked on integrating Vex crystal technology with Earth's gravity generators. "We've had practice," Martins replied with a grim smile. "For most of our history, we've had to adapt quickly or die." In a secure facility beneath Greenland's ice, Director Ryan Cooper established the Interstellar Intelligence Network. Aliens with deep knowledge of Imperial communications helped create undetectable channels across occupied systems. "We need eyes and ears everywhere," Cooper told his team. "Every Imperial world, every fleet movement." A young analyst named Jeff Baker raised his hand. "Sir, the Vex say they can use their crystalline communication to send messages instantly across any distance without detection." Cooper smiled. "That's exactly the kind of advantage we need." In orbit around Earth, the first joint fleet took shape. Human vessels fitted with alien tech trained alongside the ships their new allies had brought. Commander Laura Miller, captain of the Earth flagship Defiance, worked closely with Zinlor to develop new tactics. Imperial captains are trained to fight by the book. Zinlor explained during a strategy session. They expect enemies to either flee or surrender. Miller grinned. Well, we're going to give them a new chapter for their book. The Alliance's first strike came at an Imperial outpost on the edge of Saurian space. 5 Earth ships and 3 alien vessels appeared suddenly, disabled the station's communications, and freed the political prisoners held there. By the time Imperial reinforcements arrived, the Allied fleet had vanished. Similar strikes followed across Imperial territory. Supply depots raided, communication networks disrupted, propaganda broadcasts hijacked to show footage of successful resistance. On the Imperial throne world, Emperor Xandor received increasingly disturbing reports. The humans are spreading their rebellion, Supreme General Vexnar warned. 28 species have now shown signs of resistance. Then we end this now, the Emperor declared. Prepare the planet killers. Earth dies tomorrow. As the Imperial Armada gathered for its final assault, the Earth Alliance made ready for the fight that would determine the fate of hundreds of worlds. Dawn broke over Earth as billions watched the sky with a mixture of fear and determination. The combined sensors of the Alliance had detected it. 500 Imperial warships approaching the edge of the Sol system. Leading them was the Emperor's personal dreadnought, Eternal Dominion, a vessel the size of a small moon. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Russell addressed the Unified Defense Council. This is the moment humanity has prepared for, he said, his voice steady despite the enormous pressure. Our allies tell us the Emperor himself leads this attack. Admiral Jack Nelson, now commander of Earth's United Fleet, reported from orbit. All ships in position. The enhanced gatekeeper system is fully operational. Dr. Wilson and Engineer Robinson monitored the massive gravity generators that created Earth's protective field. The equipment hummed with power drawn from deep planetary cores. Field integrity at 100%, Robinson confirmed. If they try to breach it, the result will be catastrophic for them. At the edge of the solar system, Emperor Xandor stood on the bridge of Eternal Dominion, gazing at the distant blue dot that had caused his empire so much trouble. Their spatial distortion field ends just beyond Pluto's orbit, his science officer reported. We can fire planet killers from here. No, the Emperor said. I want to see Earth burn up close. Prepare for sublight approach. His tactical officer looked concerned. Your Eminence, approaching at sublight speed will take days and expose us to potential attacks. Are you suggesting these primitives and their ragtag allies pose a threat to 500 warships? The Emperor asked coldly. No, Your Eminence. Then proceed. As the Imperial fleet began its slow approach, Commander Miller led a small force of stealth ships behind Neptune. Her crew included humans and aliens working side by side. Remember, she told them, we only need to disrupt their formation. The real surprise comes later. Her strike force launched, targeting the communication relays between Imperial ships. Confusion spread through the enemy fleet as orders became garbled or disappeared entirely. The Emperor watched with growing rage as his perfect formation dissolved into chaos. Enough of this, he declared. All ships, initiate FTL jump to Earth orbit. We'll bypass their harassing attacks. The command went out. 500 ships, including the massive Eternal Dominion, activated their faster-than-light drives simultaneously. In the Earth Command Center, Wilson's console lit up with alerts. They're attempting FTL penetration. On screens worldwide, people watched as the Imperial fleet vanished into distorted space, and what happened next would be remembered for generations. The enhanced gatekeeper field didn't merely prevent FTL travel. It created a cascading reaction that tore ships apart at the molecular level. 500 warships, the pride of the Empire, disintegrated into expanding clouds of debris. The Emperor's dreadnought lasted 3 seconds longer than the others before suffering the same fate. In that moment, the empire that had stood for thousands of years effectively ended. News spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. The impossible had happened. Earth, the forbidden system, had destroyed the Emperor and his fleet without firing a single conventional shot. 6 months later, Admiral Nelson stood on the bridge of the newly completed Earth flagship Liberty as it led the United Fleet on a tour of the former Imperial worlds. 28 species had joined the alliance, with more requesting membership each day. "We're approaching Vex Prime," his navigation officer reported. Nelson nodded. "Prepare for diplomatic protocols." His communications officer turned from her console, smiling. "Sir, they're sending a welcome message. The Forbidden System's protectors are always welcome here." Nelson smiled at that. Earth's ban against Imperial intrusion had become a galactic symbol, not of isolation, but of freedom. Back on Earth, President Russell addressed the United Nations on the 1-year anniversary of first contact. "We never sought to become the center of a new galactic order," he said. "We simply refused to surrender our sovereignty. In doing so, we discovered that courage is the universal language of freedom." The ban remained in place, its meaning transformed. Earth was forbidden territory to all who threatened liberty, and a beacon of hope to those who cherished it. Throughout the stars, species that had never known independence looked toward the small blue planet and whispered its new name with reverence. The Forbidden System, where freedom was born again.